My name is Chelsea Norton, and I'm 39 years old. 22 years ago, my parents kicked me out in 11th grade for being pregnant, calling me a failure and slamming the door on my face. Today, they showed up at my doorstep in Austin, pounding like they owned the place, demanding, "Let us see the child, our grandchild." I opened the door, my hand steady despite the rage boiling inside, and hit them with the truth they'd never see coming. "What child? What are you?" Their faces drained of color, eyes wide in shock, as the words hung in the air like a slap they deserved. But this was just the spark. I'd spent those 22 years building something they could never touch, waiting for this moment to ignite the plan that would dismantle everything they held dear. They thought suing me would force my hand, claiming rights to a legacy they abandoned. Wrong. What unfolded next exposed their greed, turned their allies against them, and left them begging for mercy they wouldn't get. If you've ever dreamed of perfect payback against those who betrayed you, stick around, you won't believe how this ends. Before we dive in, if this kind of revenge hits home for you, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories that deliver justice. Drop in the comments, where are you watching from? And what's the time there? Let's see how far this tale travels. That doorstep moment ripped open wounds I'd sealed long ago. The deepest cut came from my parents' betrayal, Patrick Norton and Andrea Norton, their faces twisting in disgust when I showed them the pregnancy test in our Austin living room, the air thick with their judgment. "You're no daughter of ours anymore," Dad said, his voice cold as he adjusted his watch like I was a business deal gone bad, his eyes avoiding mine as if I were invisible. Mom didn't yell, but examined her nails while adding, "We expected better from you, not this mess that ruins our name." Her words slicing deeper than any shout could. They gave me 10 minutes to pack, turning our family photo face down as if erasing me from existence. The click of the frame against the mantel echoing like a final verdict. I grabbed clothes, a few dollars from my savings, and the necklace I'd hidden. The door locking behind me with finality, leaving me in the Texas night alone. Derek Sloan's abandonment hit next. The boy who'd whispered promises under the stars at our high school prom, his hand on my waist feeling like forever then. "We'll figure it out together," he said when I first told him over the phone, his voice steady at first. But days later, his number was blocked. His parents' lawyers sending a letter denying everything and threatening legal action if I contacted him again. His future at college mattered more than ours, leaving me alone with the fear growing inside. His silence a betrayal that burned because he'd been my escape from home. The streets of Austin became my nightmare, sleeping on benches in Zilker Park, rationing tears to save strength, the humid air sticking to my skin as I dodged stares from passers-by. Each rejection built the fire, from my parents' dismissal that stripped my identity to Derek's cowardice that left me vulnerable. Teaching me trust was fragile, and people could discard you like trash, right there on that cold bench. As dawn broke over the park, I swore I'd make them pay, not with anger that consumes, but with something smarter. Turning their greed against them one calculated step at a time. Kayla Rhodes appeared then, a widow in her 70s walking her old dog at dawn, her cashmere coat a contrast to my ragged jacket, her eyes sharp yet kind as she spotted me curled up. "You're freezing out here, child," she said, her Texas accent warm, seeing through my lies of being fine as I tried to brush her off. She sat with me as I broke down, holding me like I mattered, her hand on my back steady when everything else shook, then offered, "Come have breakfast with me and Max. No questions asked." Her car smelled of lavender, the drive to her spacious home in downtown Austin feeling like escape from the abyss, the heated seats thawing my numb body. Kayla didn't just give shelter in one of her hotel's spare rooms, she became my mentor, teaching survival and smart revenge over morning coffee, saying, "Build yourself so strong they regret ever letting you go. Use their weaknesses like tools." From hostess at her hotel chain to learning inventory, scheduling, and profit margins in her office, she showed me how to turn pain into power. Her lessons in business masking deeper teachings in patience and payback, preparing for the day they'd crawl back. Her investigators already digging into their lives without my knowing. Kayla's lessons became my foundation. She started me as a hostess at her downtown Austin hotel chain, showing how to read guests' faces for weakness and turn complaints into loyalty with calculated charm. Her hands gesturing as she explained the power of a well-timed smile. I absorbed every detail, from managing shifts to spotting profit leaks. Not just to survive, but to create an unbreakable shield against anyone who'd hurt me. Each shift teaching resilience in the face of demanding patrons. Her office sessions went beyond business, drilling patience as the key to outlasting enemies. Her voice firm as she shared stories of outsmarting rivals in the hospitality world. One evening, while updating her will amid stacks of papers, she introduced Sean Barrett, her lawyer with steady eyes and a knack for spotting loopholes in contracts. His handshake firm as he sat down. "He's not just for papers," Kayla said over coffee that turned into strategy talks. "He's for protection against the unexpected." Sean became part of my circle, his advice sharpening my strategies, from trust setups that locked assets tight to evidence trails that could trap the unwary in their own words. Then Shannon Lyle joined from the hotel's IT desk, her skills in tracking digital footprints turning casual chats into surveillance lessons, her fingers flying over keyboards as she demonstrated firewalls. We bonded over late-night fixes of system glitches, her teaching me how to monitor without leaving traces, assembling a team that felt like armor against the past's ghosts. After the miscarriage hit hard, leaving me hollow for weeks, Kayla guided me through the adoption process at a Texas shelter, her contacts speeding the paperwork as we visited. I found Austin Norton, a baby with curious eyes that mirrored my resolve, his tiny hands grasping mine as if knowing our bond. I named him after the city that broke and rebuilt me, raising him not only with love, but as a strategic piece. Enrolling him in coding camps early to hone his mind into something undeniable. His first program at 8A sign of the potential I'd cultivate. His quick grasp of tech, building apps by 10 that solved real problems, wasn't accident, but design. Knowing one day his success would draw them out like moths to flame, their envy making them vulnerable. Kayla wove everything into preparation, her Dichuk a fortress with clauses barring abandoned blood from claims. The safe's code tied to Austin's adoption date for symbolism that reminded me daily. Video recordings she made in her study captured her warnings about greed's blind spots, her face serious as she spoke directly to the camera about cowards who discard family. We practiced scenarios over dinner at her home, her role-playing their excuses with uncanny accuracy to teach counter-moves. Her laughter sharp when I nailed a response, building my empire brick by brick, from expanding hotel operations to investing in Austin's growing tech scene. Stood tall enough to cast shadows over their lives, each success a step in the plan she'd helped craft. The trap was set, and they took the bait right on cue. I started by feeding stories to local Austin tech sites about Austin's breakthrough software that optimized hotel operations, crafting anonymous tips with details of his algorithms to ensure the coverage went viral in business networks where executives like my parents lurked. The pieces exploded online within hours, with headlines touting "Local Whiz Kid Transforms Industry Overnight," drawing thousands of shares and comments that I tracked, knowing the echo would reach their ears through mutual contacts. Days later, A high-end tablet showed up at my desk, wrapped with a card from my parents saying, "For our talented grandson, time to reconnect." Their words a thin veil over the real motive to probe my defenses. I shipped it back with a note feigning emotional turmoil. "This brings back too many painful memories," my handwriting shaky on purpose. And on their follow-up call, my voice wavered just enough. Why now, after all these years of nothing? To make them think I was fragile and ripe for pushing further. Shannon dove into their online patterns immediately, her tools pinging every query on Austin's name from their IP addresses, capturing screenshots of their dives into Texas family law sites and forums on reclaiming estranged relatives. We cataloged the lot meticulously, from encrypted chats with Derek outlining ways to leverage the kid's fame for our share, to browser tabs on inheritance claims and quick searches for private investigators. My denials fueled their fire. Each "I can't do this right now" message I sent making them press harder, escalating to voicemails promising reunion funds if you'll just talk, and more packages like custom tech gadgets engraved with family crests. When Derek ramped up his role in their plot, Shannon snagged his communications proposing play on her guilt from the past for a cut of the inheritance. His desperation clear after his startup flop left him scrambling, the messages showing his eagerness to manipulate for quick cash. I dangled hints in traced calls that Shannon secured, casually dropping Austin's project could be worth millions if it scales, watching their responses spike with eagerness through increased surveillance hits. Their oversteps mounted quickly, my parents cornering Austin at a coffee shop near his office with forced smiles. Their demands for family time to make up for lost years met with his polite brush-off that I coached beforehand. Andrea's social media posts lamented estranged kin seeking closure, but Shannon linked them to hired influencers amplifying the narrative for sympathy, exposing their manufactured pity play through bot traffic analysis. Every step lured them into overreaching, their mounting aggression the signal they were primed for the fall. Their sloppy emails and calls providing the ammunition I'd use to seal their fate. Their desperation was my leverage. I started sowing distrust by planting anonymous emails through Shannon's untraceable accounts. One to my parents hinting Derek was skimming their reunion funds for his own debts. Another to Derek suggesting my parents planned to cut him out once they secured Austin's wealth. Their replies grew erratic. Patrick's messages to Derek demanding clarity, accusing him of betrayal. While Derek fired back, "You're the ones stringing me along." I fed the chaos with fake intel, slipping into a call with Andrea that Austin's software patent was valued at $10 million, watching her voice sharpen with greed as she whispered to Patrick about our stake. Shannon rigged call recorders to capture every word, their threats escalating from "You owe us family access" to "We'll sue for what's ours if you keep dodging." Derek's voicemails grew bolder, his tone slimy as he pushed, "Think of Austin's future. Chelsea. I'm his father after all." Oblivious to the trap snapping shut, I leaked a doctored document to their lawyer, a mock trust fund clause implying Austin's wealth was tied to my approval alone, sparking their frantic emails about forcing a settlement. Shannon's tools snagged every piece, from Patrick's late-night searches for Grandparent Rights Texas to Derek's encrypted chats with a shady consultant about pressuring emotional weak spots. I kept my responses curt. "I'm not ready to talk," each refusal stoking their impatience, pushing them to overplay their hand. Their mistrust peaked when Patrick confronted Derek in a recorded call. "You're playing us for fools," while Derek snapped, "You never trusted me from the start." The breaking point came fast, their lawyer filing a lawsuit for grandparent visitation and inheritance claims, citing familial bonds that never existed. Shannon intercepted the court filing, her analysis revealing sloppy errors that Sean pounced on, crafting counter documents to expose their lies. My parents' final move was a public post on an Austin business forum. pleading for sympathy with, "We just want our grandson back." But Shannon traced it to a hired PR firm. The evidence stacking higher. Their reckless demands were crumbling. Their own words the noose tightening around their plan. The stage was lit, and their downfall began. Austin's keynote at the Austin Tech Summit, packed with industry leaders and cameras, opened with a nod to chosen family. His voice steady as he stood in a sharp blazer, not a suit, signaling his own path. I'd coached him to start broad, speaking of loyalty over blood, setting the tone as eyes locked on the front row table where my parents, Patrick Norton and Andrea Norton, sat with Derek, their polished appearances masking the greed I'd baited. The screen behind Austin flared to life with Kayla's video, her face commanding silence as she declared, "Family is who stands by you, not who claims you when you shine." The crowd leaned in, my parents' smiles tightening as she called out cowards who discard their own. Her words aimed at those who'd abandoned me. Next came the legal blow. Sean stepping to the podium with a folder, his tone clinical as he displayed the document they'd signed 22 years ago. Projected in bold text, "We, Patrick Norton and Andrea Norton, relinquish all rights to Chelsea Norton and any offspring, born or unborn." Gasps rippled through the room, phones raised to capture their signatures, undeniable and damning. Then the emails, Shannon's intercepts flashing across the screen, showing their plot to leverage Austin's fame and Derek's push to play her guilt for millions, their own words exposing their conspiracy. The final strike was my voice, calm but cutting. As I stood and faced them, "You demanded my child. But there was no child. You drove me to a miscarriage with your cruelty. And Austin is my adopted son, not your blood." The room erupted in murmurs, their faces collapsing under the weight of the truth. No grandchild to claim, no wealth to seize. Security moved in as Sean announced emergency restraining orders, served on the spot to Patrick, Andrea, and Derek, barring them from contact. Their humiliation broadcast live on Austin's tech feeds. I watched them escorted out, their heads bowed under the crowd's judgment, my satisfaction cold and absolute, knowing their empire of lies had crumbled before the world. Their collapse was only the beginning. The fallout from the Austin Tech Summit spread like wildfire across local networks, with clips of Patrick Norton and Andrea Norton's exit, heads bowed under security's escort, racking up millions of views on Twitter within days. Their small real estate firm lost 3 major contracts overnight, clients citing reputational risk as the video trended under hashtags exposing their greed. By the next week, their company's board ousted Patrick as chairman, his decades of connections severed when partners distanced themselves from the scandal. They sold their Austin home at a loss, a modest ranch compared to their former status, and relocated to a cramped condo in Scottsdale, their social circle shrinking as neighbors whispered about their disgrace. Derek's fate was bleaker. His emails to my parents flagged by Shannon's contacts at a local accounting firm, tipping off the IRS to his hidden offshore accounts. A federal audit hit him hard, uncovering $500,000 in unpaid taxes, leading to charges that promised up to 3 years behind bars. I offered no leniency, my silence a deliberate choice as their worlds unraveled. Their pleas for mediation ignored while Sean ensured their legal challenges against Kayla's will collapsed in court. The Kuiwai I launched, the Kayla Rhodes Foundation for Young Women, became my triumph, funded with $1 million from her estate to support single mothers in Texas with housing and job training. At the opening event, surrounded by grateful faces, I turned to Sean, pulling a ring from my pocket. "Will you make this family official?" I asked, my voice steady, his grin wide as he accepted. Austin cheering beside us, The foundation's first grant went to a 19-year-old coder, her toddler in tow. Her eyes bright with hope I'd once lost. Revenge served cold is the sweetest. A lesson carved into my core: you protect yourself by building a life so strong it outshines those who tried to break you.